I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear the thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hello and a warm welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Despite bumper-to-bumper coverage of Christian Bruckner's criminal trial by the fickle and feckless British media, there hasn't been anything of substance connecting Bruckner to Madeleine until now. Now, for the first time, a Scotland Yard detective who was part of the Madeleine McCann investigation will be called to give evidence in Germany in terms of this Christian Bruckner trial that is underway. This is huge. It's the first time ever that an investigator will be required to testify under oath in a court of law about what he knows. But here's an early clue. He's been called as a defense witness, which is to say he'll be arguing why Bruckner isn't the so-called prime suspect the impudent and reckless British media would have you believe he is. Before we get to the rest of this analysis, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. If you're enjoying this analysis, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also follow my journey through America on Instagram. I'll put a link to that in the description. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. Now, according to the Mail Online, a Scotland Yard detective probing Madeleine McCann's disappearance has been called to give evidence in defense of their prime suspect, Christian Bruckner, at an unrelated rape trial. I mean, that's the key bit of information, right? His name is Detective Constable Mark Draycott. He's been a key part of the Operation Grange investigation since British police took over the Portuguese investigation 13 years ago. The important word to emphasize there is key part. He's not just kind of a random police officer. He's someone who's played an integral part in Operation Grange into this investigation into Madeleine McCann. So essentially Draycott's involvement came late into the McCann investigation regarding his involvement in terms of Bruckner. This shows that Bruckner certainly wasn't on very high on their list of priorities. 10 years after the incident, Draycott flew to the Greek capital Athens. That was in 2017. Remember, Madeleine disappeared in 2007. So 10 years later, he went to interview Helga Busching, a partner in crime to Bruckner and basically a bit of a rat, I guess, he's ratting him out. And he's claimed that Bruckner had confessed to killing Maddie. Now, you would imagine in that interview, if that interview had borne fruit, Bruckner would have become prime suspect material the same year, in 2017. Now, that's 7 years ago. But he didn't. Clearly, the British authorities, along with the McCanns themselves, took zero interest in Bruckner and still have no interest in him as a prime suspect. It's only when the German authorities seeking to build their case against Bruckner, and that context is important. They're trying to build a case against him. And so what did they do? They exerted pressure on him, and one of the ways they did that is they made confident claims regarding his guilt in terms of Madeleine McCann. And perhaps they were hoping that he would try and plea, that he would confess, that he would make the lives of the prosecutors easier. And all of this started in June 2020, 3 years after Draycott's interview and almost 4 years ago now. According to the Mail Online, Bruckner is not currently on trial as a suspect in the McCann case and is instead facing charges in Braunschweig regional court to face other charges. Whoopsie. But why let that ruin a good story? International media heralded this as a huge breakthrough, and this was in June 2020. Huge breakthrough. And it's been such a huge breakthrough that after 4 years, the German authorities still won't say exactly what they supposedly know. And even more telling, they've charged Bruckner with various crimes, just not with Madeleine's murder. In effect, the German cops have been saying, "We are so convinced Bruckner snatched Madeleine that we're not going to charge him." Sorry, that came out sounding Scottish. We are not going to charge him. Bruckner has been the poster child for Madeleine's, prime suspect as a poster child, as I guess. Madeleine's prime suspect ever since. Draycott's testimony for the first time will provide a sense of the official position of a British investigator, not only on Bruckner as a credible suspect, in other words, not a credible suspect, but also possibly on the status of the investigation. What do the British authorities believe? What do they think really happened? That might come up. Now, according to the Mail Online, the sensational development means for the first time detectives from Scotland Yard who have been investigating the 2007 disappearance of then 3-year-old Madeleine will have to disclose under oath what they know. That is certainly quite exciting. So why are the German cops so convinced Bruckner is a dead ringer for Madeleine's abductor? What do they know that no one else seems to know? According to the Mail Online, it was in this statement that he told Operation Grange that Bruckner said to him at a hippie festival in Orgiva, Spain, that Madeleine didn't scream when she was taken from the holiday apartment where she was staying. That's now supposedly the smoking gun evidence. But let me ask you a question. Didn't everybody know this? If you were asked, as far as you know, did Madeleine scream when she was taken? What would you say? Did anyone say they heard a scream? Is a scream part of the narrative anywhere? What's the answer? And so if you said, no, well, as far as I know, Madeleine didn't scream, does that mean you confess to snatching Madeleine? It's a bit of a long shot. According to the Mail Online, officers from Operation Grange contacted counterparts in Germany, and Bruckner's background convictions for rape and paedophile emerged, and as a result, he became a prime suspect. So if you think about it, just on the basis of that, he becomes a prime suspect, not really on the basis of actual evidence. In other words, it's somewhat circumstantial. The other thing is, he became a prime suspect. I wouldn't say he's a prime suspect now, certainly not in terms of the British police. Would you say that? If the British police don't regard Bruckner as a suspect, and Draycott certainly doesn't, Operation Grange certainly didn't, and if the Portuguese police don't either, certainly the former lead detective Gonzalo Amaral doesn't take Bruckner seriously as a suspect, then doesn't it seem like the British media are being a little too selective, a little too convenient, a little too self-serving, a little opportunistic in their breathless coverage, wanting to link him? Now, back to the article. In 2011, under the then Home Secretary Theresa May, Scotland Yard was asked to take over the investigation following a request from her boss, Prime Minister David Cameron, and Operation Grange was set up. Since then, they've been given more than £13 million. And in the last month, Mail Online revealed that they'd applied for another £100,000, which was expected to be given the green light. Now, you'd imagine if Bruckner was the obvious suspect, it wouldn't take £13 million to investigate him. That said, there are other obvious suspects in this case, and clearly the British government seems to like throwing money at an investigation that's essentially chasing its own tail. According to the Mail Online, now Bruckner's lawyers believe that Draycott, due to give evidence on the 2nd of May, could help demolish Bruching's credibility as a witness, and that's according to German newspaper Bild. They believe inconsistencies in what he told Draycott in 2017 and what he has told police in the current case could get Bruckner off. Well, off what? Off the charges that haven't been filed against him, accusing him of having something to do with Madeleine's disappearance. According to the Mail Online, the development comes after it was also revealed that a former British detective, Dave Edgar, who was hired by Kate and Jerry McCann from 2008 to 2011, when Scotland Yard took over, will also be questioned as part of Bruckner's defence. Wow, so you have another British detective, this time hired by the McCanns, also potentially rubbishing the Bruckner lead. So what do you think? Do you think Bruckner is involved? Bushing claimed that he had called Mr. Edgar in 2008 and tipped him off about Bruckner, but he has no recollection of taking the call, and told Mail Online that if he had known the details, he would have acted. The British media may play dumb, but we already know what the British cops know, and that's that they, like the McCanns themselves, don't consider Bruckner a suspect. Clearly, the British cops have investigated the Bruckner angle since at least 2017. That's 7 years ago, and nothing came of it. Anyway, we will look at what is reported on May 2nd in terms of the testimony from this investigator, Draycott. It's going to happen on May 2nd. We'll see what he says. I'm not going to take it further than that. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.